Welcome back to Balancing Acts. We're talking with Dr. Rivers, CEO and founder of Amera Solutions, which is an ambulatory transportation service for post-anesthesia patients. Dr. Rivers, I want to talk a bit about some of the common mistakes business owners make. I am a CPA. I've worked for several decades with business owners. Sometimes they have cash flow problems, profit problems. Sometimes they're growing too fast. There's so many different challenges. When you first started, what would you say the challenges you had? Did you experience any of those, whether it was cash flow or something else? And what would you recommend to those to maybe avoid some of those mistakes?
My mistakes, I don't know if they were my mistakes, but I could tell you this. I got rejected so many times from banks at the beginning because I didn't have collateral, but I had cash flow, but I didn't have collateral. And it seemed like before I could even talk to a banker, it's like, do you have any equipment? Well, here's the deal, Linda. We don't have cars. We don't own cars, but we have a strong cash flow. And I think that wasn't enough. And I was trying to pinpoint, is it because Latinos struggle with this, or is it because women struggle with this? What is it? Because, 2% of venture capitalist money go to women. And so we have a problem.
Yeah.
So what are we to do as business owners? What can we do? And so understanding your numbers, but here's the biggest problem that I feel like most entrepreneurs do. They take their money and they invest it back into their company, and you're going to say, well, isn't that what you're supposed to do? It's okay to take on debt, good debt, right? So you have to go back to your banker and say, what am I missing here?
Right.
Be bold. What am I missing here? Is it my credit score? Is it my business plan? What's missing here that I'm not getting this money? And then at first, we always go to our loved ones, but we exhaust them. They give us loans, we take our savings, we do everything. And some people even try to, refinance their houses, which is very risky, but people
Yes.
do it if they really have the passion for believing in their product or service.
Right.
But the biggest mistake is not understanding a money mindset, right? You have to have a money mindset, and you have to be educated in that, because a lot of us, sometimes we grew up very poor and we don't know, or we're supposed to save our money, or we're not supposed to use our money, or we spend it all. And you got to be smart, because money is to be smart with it. And so I think one of the mistakes that a lot of entrepreneurs make is they don't know their numbers.
Yeah.
They don't get a CPA to the end. Or they come to the CPA at the end of the year and they throw a box full of receipts and say, you figure it out. You can't do that. You have to be organized from day one. Number one, organizational skills is a priority in business. Number two, building a team with leadership, with you having leadership skills is important. It's not you're the boss. You're the first one that has to be at the office and the last one that has to be at the office, and you have to also answer to your team.
Yes.
And a lot of leaders think, well, I'm the boss. Well, no, you're not the boss. You're the leader.
Right.
And
What's
so
the
learn the
difference?
difference between being a boss and being a leader, because they work for you even when you don't have money to pay them,
Yes.
right?
Exactly. Yes.
And so sometimes people want to work for people they like, even if you can't pay them, because they understand that there's a passion in you and there's a drive and you're not willing to give up. So they're willing to, ride on this journey with you. So leadership is important. And again, understanding your numbers, understanding your business, and making it easier for your CPA. Get a CPA from the beginning.
What I've found in my career, and I teach business strategy and how to create a one-page business plan for smaller businesses in the WeBank community across the country. And oftentimes they say, oh, I'm doing my own books.
Oh my
Or,
gosh.
maybe they only talk to a CPA once a year. Did you have someone early on, and did you talk to them about your numbers?
What's interesting is that at the beginning, you're the one-man show.
Yes.
So you get QuickBooks and you say, I'm going to learn QuickBooks. But when
Right.
you're saying you're learning QuickBooks, you're supposed to be really building relationships to bring in money.
Right.
So that you have the mindset that I'll do it all. I'll answer the phones, I'll do the driving if that's the driving, or I'll make the product and I'll do the QuickBooks. Well, you're going to burn yourself out for no reason. And a lot of people think, no, I'm saving money. No, you're not. You're not saving money, because if you hired the CPA from the beginning, you wouldn't have IRS problems. And then at the end, you're paying more taxes than you should, or you didn't write off the correct things, because guess what? So that problem is going to cost you more money. So that's what I always tell them. And stop trying to think at the beginning it's okay to be the one-man show, but quickly identify what's your strength, what's your weakness, and bring in people that rally around the passion and are willing to help you from the beginning and explain to them that this is your vision. Whoever wants to be part of your vision, just work with you. Because people it's about building relationships than anything else. At the beginning, you're just building relationship with the CPA, with the banker. Maybe they're rejecting you today, but build that relationship for the future. You have to learn how to build relationships because those relationships are the ones that are going to help you through the times of need.
Exactly. And I think oftentimes people are maybe afraid to spend money on a bookkeeper or an accountant, but even a once-a-year consultation, there are programs like SCORE where you can actually get very seasoned mentors, consultants, coaches who for free will talk to you, and that's a good place to start. But if you don't understand your numbers, you also might have inaccurate numbers. So maybe you think you're making a profit, but you're actually losing money. Let's talk a bit about finding customers, which is another challenge.
Yes.
And how did you go about finding your first one? Everybody I talk to says marketing is so hard. How did you approach that?
You know, I've always, like I told you from the beginning, I come from a family that they're very sales and quick hustlers. Let's sell, let's do this. And I ran away from that because I said, I don't like it because it didn't pay the bills. So I say, I'm not a salesperson, I'm not a salesperson. And then just recently, I came from a CEO retreat and I had a mastermind and I told them, I'm not a salesperson, so how can I hire a salesperson? And they asked me, well, what do you do? And I gave them the details and they say, you are a salesperson. And I said, Lord, how does that make me a salesperson? Because we're always talking about our passion.
Yes.
And when you talk about your passion, you attract others. Right. And when you attract others, they just want to help you. I know a doctor you need to meet. I know an organization you need to be part of. I know this conference where you need to speak, where it's medical and there's nothing but nurses and that's your target audience. So how do you find your clients? Number one, not everybody is your client. Not everybody. Right. I've talked to a person who says, I have this really nice cream that's good for your skin and you have beautiful skin and you should try it. And I'm like, well, is this cream specifically for, no, anybody can use it. Problem number one, not everybody's your audience. Even if they tell you, no, you can make a lot of money. No, not everybody's your audience. Be true to your product or your service. Know that not everybody's your audience. So I've had many people say, if you get on the program of Medicaid or Medicaid and Medicare, they'll give you tons of patients, but that's not my audience.
Yes.
So I appreciate the opportunity and the volume, but I need to be true to myself because it's not fair to the customers that I do give quality service. It's not fair to them. So I'm very specific about who your client should be, and you should write it down. What do they look like? How old are they? What kind of hobbies do they have? What's their background? What's their career? What do they do for, anything? Because when you narrow down what your client should look like, you'll be surprised that not everybody's your client. You're going to waste your time if you think the world is your client, because that's not the truth.
It becomes hard to talk to them.
And
if the world is your client, what are you saying? Because every client hears things differently. Maybe they have different needs and different pain points. And so it's important. Were you initially B2C or B2B? And did you change that at all? Because that's another common problem for growing businesses, is they don't always adapt to their customer needs.
When you first start in business, you think everybody's your client and you need that revenue. I get it. I did it.
Yes.
But there was a point in my life where I said, okay, we're over 3 million, 4 million. And then I looked at it and I started studying my contracts and I said, I want to go business to consumer. And I looked at it and I looked at a contract that was given as 1.2 a year. And that 1.2 looked really nice, right? But that wasn't our client. So I sent out an email and I said, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to just disturb the peace here, but I need to. Well, when I did that, it dropped 1.2 revenue. But guess what? I couldn't sleep at night. I felt sick to my stomach. I said, what did I do to this company? I am the representative of this company. I have employees that depend on me. What in the world am I thinking? So when I did that, guess what happened? The business to consumer started growing. And I was like, really? And I made a decision because it didn't align with my vision. And I wanted to be true to my clients and to the vision of Amera. And when I did that, they understood and they kind of like backed off a little bit, gave us a very little bit of, you know, of their client patients that they were giving us, but we started seeing the numbers exactly aligned with the direction we wanted to go. So that's very risky. And when people say that, they say, I don't know if I could do that. I understand that, but if you don't make that decision, how can you reach the next level of your company? How can you go there, especially if your vision is very large, which mine is to sell.
Right. And a lot of our audiences, you know, the smaller businesses, they might only have 250,000 in revenue or 500,000 in revenue, and they're really in the early stage of growing. One other thing about your ideal client is not just the messaging, but it's the pricing. You know, if you don't know who you're selling to, is it a low price or is it a high price? So it's important to know that too. Before we take a commercial break and move on to our next topic, I also wanted to ask you, you know, in the year when you first grew from startup to $1 million, what was that like? Oh. What just one or two things you would say to those out there who think, I'll never get there?
Oh, wow. I didn't think that I would get there. I wanted to get there. But in reality, I would say, am I really going to get there? But I think that's all of us, Linda.
Yes.
We wish for something, right? But a wish is just a wish. A strategy is you will get there. So I had to change my mindset. Change your mindset. Because I looked at those numbers and I said, okay, those are big numbers. But if the numbers are not big enough to scare you, then really, where's the challenge? And so when I started looking at the numbers, I said, okay, I'm not going to wish for that. I'm going to create a strategy plan, because you have to do reverse engineering. So where do I want to be and what do those numbers look like? What do your clients look like? What locations are you at? How are you feeling about this? And then reverse engineering, how do I get there? Well, I'm going to need this. I'm not going to need this. I need to change this. I need to do that. And then work on a plan. Like you said, SCORE, right? Yes. SCORE is free. And you can go there and you can learn so much and create a plan that's going to get you in the direction of where your goal is. But, you know, just do it with risk.
Exactly.
Take resilience.
We're going to take a commercial break and we're going to come back and talk some more about financing your business, ways to grow, and all the things you have to do to actually get your business to $1 million.